Hey, I'm John Cannell, and today on Preppy Kitchen, we're making some easy, delicious peppermint bark. So let's get started. First off, grab 12 ounces of semi-sweet chocolate, and we're gonna give this a chop. If you wanted to, you could definitely use chocolate chips for this. Today, I'm using bars of chocolate. They melt easier than the chips, and they often have a nice taste. Chocolate's the star ingredient, so choose a chocolate you love. Give this a nice fine chop. It's really important that you have similarly sized small pieces of chocolate. If you have giant lumps in the mix, you might burn the chocolate before those lumps melt and you'll be a bit unhappy. Our chocolate's chopped. We're gonna transfer this to a medium heat-proof bowl now, and you have two choices. You can use a microwave or a double boiler to melt the chocolate. Today, I'm using a double boiler, especially because we have white chocolate in the mix. This is almost foolproof. It's gonna melt really easily. The white chocolate can be very finicky and it burns really easily, especially in the microwave. So the double boiler will take a few minutes longer, but you're not going to burn your chocolate because it's gonna melt from the steam coming off of about 1 to 2 inches of water in a pot. If you wanna use your microwave to melt your chocolate, that's totally fine. Into a heat-proof bowl again after you chop it. You'll melt your chocolate in 30-second increments at half power, stirring in between. Once your chocolate is mostly melted with just a couple little bits here and there, you can take it out of the microwave. The residual heat will melt the remaining chocolate. Do not burn it. That would be bad. So I have a medium pot filled with a little bit over 1 inch of water. I want to bring this to a simmer, and my bowl should rest inside the pot without touching the water. If the bowl touches the water, it'll burn the chocolate. If it doesn't, the steam will gradually and gently heat your chocolate. So set that aside and we'll come back to that once it's nice and steamy. In the meantime, let's prep our pan. Grab an 8x8 inch pan. If you wanted to use a 9x9, that totally works too. Your bark is just gonna be a little bit thinner. And if you don't have a pan, just have a big sheet of parchment paper out and spread. It'll be even thinner, but still delicious. You do not want your bark to stick under any circumstances. So here I've cut a piece of parchment paper so it can fit nicely inside of my pan, just like that. By the way, if you like my videos, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. There's 2 new recipes every single week and shorts too. Set your pan aside. My water is steamy, so let's pop our bowl on. Pop it on just like that. You want your water to simmer, not be at a rolling boil, so watch the temperature. Stir occasionally, and once the chocolate is mostly melted, you can take it off heat. You never want to have all of the chocolate melted because chances are your chocolate is getting too hot. The residual heat from the melted chocolate will melt the unmelted chocolate and everything will be fine. While my chocolate's melting, it's time to chop 16 ounces of white chocolate. And here I would recommend using bar chocolate if you can. The white chocolate chips are a little bit more finicky to melt, but you can make it work, so don't worry if that's all you have. I think of peppermint bark as a holiday staple that's like always on cookie plates, but it really only became popular in the 90s because of Williams-Sonoma, which is a kitchen supply store that's very popular in the States. Popular and fancy. It's one of those recipes like tiramisu where I think, oh, tiramisu, a classic Italian dish. No, it's also from the 90s. The 90s or 80s, it's very recent. Now, melting chocolate and having that with fillings like nuts or candy or peppermint is not a new idea, and they didn't invent it, but it was popularized by them. One thing I'll point out is if you're using the same knife, just make sure you clean any chocolate off of it, and I would wash your cutting board or use a new one or turn it over because you don't want little bits of chocolate muddying the white chocolate. Once again, I'm giving this a fine chop. My white chocolate's all chopped. Add that into a heat-proof bowl as well. This, by the way, is a great project to work on with kids in the kitchen. You can have them use the microwave to melt the chocolate under supervision. You can have it pre-melted for them and they can do the assembling, crushing the candy canes, adding their own mix-ins. It's really fun. You can even have them give it as gifts and they made it themselves, which they'll love. I'm giving this as a gift and I made it myself and I love it. All right, set this aside. Let's check on our chocolate. Okay, I just decreased the heat so it's really at a true simmer, not a boil. And once you start stirring, you see, oh my gosh, it is basically melted. It happens pretty quickly. This is mostly melted. I have little chunks of chocolate here and there, but that's totally fine. The rest will melt. Even if it doesn't, it's all gonna re-solidify anyway, so no one will be able to tell. Today we're just melting our chocolate. We're not gonna temper it. If you wanna go that extra step, I have a video where I show you how. It's for my hot chocolate bombs. So you can click up here for that. They are delicious. They were tempered, and tempering will give you that nice snap and prevent the chocolate from getting too melty at room temperature or mottled. It'll have like a nice sheen to it as well. Somewhat finicky of a process, but you can do it if you want. Our chocolate's all melted, ready to pour into our prepared dish. Spread this out into a nice even layer. You can use your spatula or an offset. I have a nice even layer of chocolate, but we're gonna take a break. If we melted the white chocolate and added it on right now, it would be a muddy mess. We want that nice contrast of dark and white chocolate with the peppermint. It'll look really pretty and layered. To do that though, it needs to be partially set, not all the way hard, not all the way soft, just firmed up. So depending on how hot your chocolate is, I would say between 10 to 20 minutes in your fridge. How hot was the chocolate? How cold is your counter? How cold is your fridge? That's the range. You want to see that it's not fully hard, but it's starting to lose its shine. In you go. If your chocolate was fully set and you add the white chocolate on top, once you start snapping it into pieces, the white chocolate will snap off of the black and they'll be totally separated. It will not be peppermint bark. It'll be white chocolate and dark chocolate chips. My chocolate is almost semi-set, so we're gonna pop our white chocolate onto the double boiler too, or if you're microwaving it, start microwaving it in those 30-second increments at half power. This is going on and we're gonna stir this regularly. While your white chocolate's melting, grab 7 regular-sized candy canes and you need to crush these. It's less messy if you pop them into a bag and then give them a crush. You could use a mallet for this or a rolling pin. A rolling pin will give you a bit more control. So much noise. You definitely want some larger pieces of candy cane so you can see those beautiful stripes here and there. Strategically crushed. I measured out 1/3 cup of my crushed candy canes and I can set that aside. That'll get folded into the white chocolate. The rest is for decoration on top. Now let's check on our white chocolate. All right, let's give this a stir. Let's also check on our chocolate that's in the fridge. See, that's great. It's losing some of its shine, but it's still wet on top, just barely. I'm gonna set this on my cold countertop just to hang out. If it hardens completely, remember your chocolate will separate and it's not gonna be fun. My white chocolate's all melted, so let's take this off heat and it's time to add some delicious candy cane things in. 1/2 teaspoon of peppermint extract will give you that lovely holiday flavor. I am measuring this out because too much is too much. You want just 1/2 teaspoon. Okay, stir that in. And then follow that up with our reserved 1/3 cup of crushed candy canes. Mix to combine. I changed my mind. It's warmer than I thought, especially with the lights, so my dark chocolate started to get a little too glossy and soften up. It went back into the fridge for 2 minutes, and this can hang out and just get a little bit cooler. It's really hot right now. My chocolate cooled down a bit. Now it's time to combine. So pour your chocolate over the top, and we're gonna gently smooth it into an even layer. The white chocolate is gonna start melting the dark chocolate, so just be gentle. You don't want to get it too mixed up. Smooth that to the edge. Give it a little shimmy and everything will level out. This will taste delicious, but it doesn't look as good as we want, so it's time to sprinkle the remaining crushed candy cane all over the top. Our bark is ready to go into the fridge right now, at least an hour of chill time until we give it a cut. Remove your chilled peppermint bark. Our paper's done. Now we're gonna give it a chop into manageable sized pieces. So grab a sharp knife and get to work. Look at that, that is luxurious. We're gonna give this a chop, and remember, if you used a larger baking dish, they could be thinner and bigger. This is a lot of chocolate, so a tiny piece is more than enough. Watch your fingers. Beautiful big chunks of chocolate, and the taste of peppermint throughout is lovely. This peppermint bark is destined for some holiday gift boxes, but I'm having a slice just for me. Perfectly pepperminty, and I love the play of the different chocolates. I hope you had a chance to make this delicious recipe, and if you like my videos, hit that subscribe button and check out my Christmas playlist.